Hello, this is Zachary Gamer, and this is my Unit 4 presentation. Here is my thesis. The policies implemented during this Great Depression laid the groundwork for the United States' success during the war and beyond. And Americans' policies significantly contributed to the United States' success in World War II, enabling it to exert a more decisive influence on the world. The post war policies further finalized the United States as one of the most powerful countries in the world by entangling itself with foreign countries to expand its influence and success. Here are my key pieces of evidence. First, the first and second New Deals led to everyday Americans trusting the government and rebuilding the United States. The second is the Americans' decisive victory in World War II established policies for peace to prevent future violence and to rebuild the affecting countries with the Marshall Plan. Thirdly, the Red Scare served as a motivation for America to become more involved in foreign affairs, aiming to prevent communist expansion and mitigate international conflicts. The Cold War demonstrated U.S. involvement abroad through its participation in regional wars in various parts of the world, aiming at showcasing power against the Soviets. All right. For evidence number one, the first and second New Deals led to everyday Americans trusting the government and rebuilding the United States. The New Deals. The first New Deal in the United States implemented during the Great Depression included banks reforms, emergency relief, and work relief programs, and agricultural programs. And in the second New Deal, work was supported through union protection programs, the Social Security Act, and aid to tenant farmers. This was very crucial for them. This gave them the lifeblood, and to get when the economy went down, this allowed them to get a chance to rebound. And these programs were key in aiding Americans after the Great Depression, allowing the United States economy to remain productive and giving them an advantage when World War II began. Evidence 2. The Americans' decisive victory in World War II established policies for peace to prevent future violence to rebuild the affected countries with the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan helped to industrialize and invest in Europe, preventing Soviet influence from taking over Europe and focusing on Western European countries. The Marshall Plan enabled the United States economic dominance over the devastating European countries, which strengthened the U.S. industries as a leading economic exporter. We would make all our weapons, make all the materials, and then ship them to Europe. And we would profit while also building up those countries. The influence established in Europe aimed to eliminate the possibility of another war breakout in an attempt to maintain peace throughout the Cold War with the Soviet Union. Were able to support and rebuild these countries just so that they weren't weak and devastated and were able to be conquered by the Soviets. So we did this to ensure peace in Europe. Evidence number three: the Red Scare served as a motivation for America to become more involved in foreign affairs, aiming to prevent the communist expansion and mitigation of international conflicts. The Red Scare. The Red Scare was the fear of the spread of communism by the Soviets, which targeted people believed to be disloyal to the U.S., including Hollywood. This included actors, people in Hollywood. They were the ones that were majorly affected by this. Red Scare revealed that the United States harbored fears of foreign powers at home, as evidenced by investigation individuals, which with scant evidence driven by the need to take any action to establish itself as a global power. There is very little tangible good evidence against these people, which they got convicted and charged of, just because people were just so scared. All right, the push to be involved in foreign affairs even affected Americans back home, as it became a part of the American identity. We were involved, and it affected us back home. We were worried about this stuff. We were involved in all parts of the world now as a world power. Evidence number four: the Cold War demonstrated U.S. involvement abroad through its participation in regional wars in various parts of the world, aiming at showcasing power against the Soviets. This is a way to combat in the Cold War. This was established in Korea and mainly in Vietnam, which we're going to get into. The Vietnam War was utilized as a conflict in the Cold War, as it was a critical region in Asia, and with both sides supplying materials and weapons to both the South and the North side. The United States feared that the domino effect, if Vietnam fell, all the other countries close to it would fall to communism. If the South fell or the North fell, they would fall. The South would fall, and then they would all the remaining countries would fall too, like Cambodia and all those other countries in that area, and leading to the U.S. defeat in the Cold War in Asia. This was the fight to keep Asia still capitalist and not communist. The United States became a global power by becoming involved in other nations' conflicts to support the side that worked best for its interests and prosperity, a strategy employed by many great powers. So, over the course of history, you always want to, great powers always throw their influence into other countries and try to sway different wars or different things in their favor in order to do them best. This is a prime example to show that we are the world power and we are fighting for it right now against the Soviets. Conclusion. Entering World War II and its aftermath allowed the United States to establish itself as a global power, becoming involved in international conflicts and shaping policies that benefited the U.S. The Marshall Plan and Vietnam demonstrated the American influence economically and militarily, ensuring that the U.S. interests were upheld. We fought economically. We supported the Marshall Plan, like we militarily in Vietnam and in Korea. We showed ourselves that we are a great power. We can affect people economically and militarily, involve ourselves in. That shows that we are able to stand our ground and do what will benefit us the best. The policies established the United States as a global power, allowing it to be continued to become a prosperous nation where all citizens reap the rewards. We were very well off during this time after the war. Post-war, the U.S. made a lot of money. A lot of the loans that we gave to Europe during the war, we were receiving back. U.S. was a very prosperous place and a great place to live at this time compared to all the other countries affected in the war. Here are all my resources. I have one primary source and 3 secondary sources. 3. Thank you.